Sup, Fortnite? Back at it again. You already know it's the one, the only. Oh, hey, Chloe. Okay, well, I am sorry about that. I had to interrupt the program because we had a weird occurrence yesterday after I filmed the setup for the woke extravaganza. I went to the mutual aid event and it went about as well as all our mutual aid events go. It was a little disorganized, but we were able to help a lot of people. What we do for our mutual aid is we get a red bag with a drawstring and we put in essential goods like a couple snacks, chips, granola bars, some water. We like to give out bus passes. Usually we can get day passes for everyone that attends our mutual aid event. And we also like to have some addition items that might make the struggle they face a little bit better. And I like to think what we do is sort of like, it's just good. We're not doing it for sort of any problems or to cause any issues. But a few months ago, we had, I think it's like the assistant deputy manager of the city. I don't think I should say where I'm located, but they stopped by and kind of let us know that they felt we were not really helping the unhoused a whole lot with our efforts. And, you know, that's a little bit disheartening to see an unelected bureaucrat disparage socialist efforts under an oppressive system, especially when it comes to the people being oppressed sort of by the system of putting up signs that say, don't hand out things to the unhoused. There are organizations in the area. Instead, you can call this number. That's a weird thing to put up around the city. You know, taxpayer dollars went to funding systems like that. And you have to wonder, are these systems actually trying to help the unhoused, or are they just, I don't know. I see unhoused all over the place. Anyway, well, at our mutual aid event yesterday, it had been a few months, and Mr. Rogers is his name. He's stopped by a couple times and kind of given us what he feels are the best ways to help the unhoused, which, I mean, it's interesting because none of those places are setting up a few tables with bags of essential goods on the second Saturday of every month and giving meal items to the unhoused and providing direct relief for their struggle. So it kind of sounds like we have two different approaches to solving the problem, and the institutional approach of abiding by the status quo that allows people to face situations in which they become unhoused because capitalism is inherently violent and seeks to deprive people of their essential rights to humanity by putting them in situations where the world perceives them as being less than because they don't fit within the definitions set out by, it's like the social definitions of what it means to be proper or maybe professional, or, you know, a lot of people will look at the unhoused and view them under a lens that sort of removes any form of compassion. Oftentimes I hear, oh, well, they're just, looking to get a beer. And it's like, sometimes that's okay for unhoused people to want to indulge a little bit, because I tell you what, if I were struggling to that extent, I too would occasionally like to be able to partake in some form of escape so that the direct pains of my situation aren't immediately felt. That would be a little bit nice. But when we when society looks at the unhoused, it doesn't look at them as people. It looks at them as a problem. And I don't really like the approaches that people have to solving that problem because it doesn't seem to address the cause of the problem, which is a systemic one. And now, under that framing, I can understand why the Mr. Rogers doesn't want us doing any benefits for the unhoused population because it undermines the very system that is paying him $250,000 every year, or whatever he gets paid. I think it's like 4 or 5 times what I make, though. So, you know, hey, our mutual aid events actually only cost about $3,000. So with his kind of funding, we could support probably like 4 or 5 mutual aid days a month. And I think that that would be fantastic. But instead, what we have is a person willing to sit in their vehicle and watch us for hours at a time, you know, and I don't know, whatever, it's fine. Well, I am a tax-paying citizen. I'm actually a really productive member of society, as it turns out, but you'd never know that if you only saw my YouTube channel. And what happened yesterday is he stopped by, he said he didn't feel like we were helping, and one of my comrades said that we know where you want us to send them and stuff. It's okay. If you'd like, you're welcome to one of our sandwiches, because we try to pass out food, and I think we had coffee and stuff. It's a fun day. It's honestly one of my favorite days of the month. Second Saturday, I look forward to it every month. And, well, Mr. Rogers, his expression did not appear as though he had been interested in having a sandwich from us. And I don't know. I didn't really appreciate the way in which he approached us, and it's okay. But soon after, there was a set of police officers over on the road nearby, and then they pulled up. And then, of course, I am Chloe, so I walked right up to the police officers and said, well, you must be coming here for us. And we had a conversation about whether or not we were allowed to be on the sidewalk and the issues some people have with us being on the sidewalk. And then they helped us negotiate across the street with the Salvation Army shelter that is located there, which is why we have a large population that we're serving, is because it's right next to a place that's a shelter. And they said we'd be able to use their property next month for our operation, which is nice, but it makes me wonder why the assistant to the deputy city manager's office would be spending his time coming and watching us do what we do, and then working as hard as he does to make sure that we aren't sort of like included in any of the conversations around town to like provide assistance, because a lot of money goes into hanging signs. Well, it's like a one-time fee from contractors. Maybe the city did it, I don't know. They were able to put up a fenced barrier underneath an overpass really quick, and they said, this is a pre-staging area for some construction we're gonna do. And it's been like something like 4 or 5 months, and it's like, you know, it's weird because it seems like all they wanted to do was keep people who are unhoused from setting up under there where they'd be protected from things like rain. And honestly, I think it's kind of like monstrous, the policies that are enacted to do so much to avoid actually viewing the unhoused population as people and like providing them the means to rise out of their struggle. Instead, capitalism views them as somehow morally deficient, which is absolutely an abhorrent position to have. And as a result of that, society determines that if they had just picked themselves up by their bootstraps, and that's not the way the world works. It just simply isn't. But so often, again, you get these people who take issue with the little bits of good people are trying to do. And, you know, the cops were incredibly nice. You know, I had a recent incident with the cops where I was coming home after a long day of work. I'd worked overtime, and then they'd like set up 7 or 8 squad cars in front of my neighbor's house, and I didn't know what they were going on about, but all I know is I was trying to get home, and there's only one way in my driveway, and they were blocking it. And then the person got really upset because I drove around their vehicles, and I asked, "Hey, is it cool if I just kind of drive into my driveway? You guys, I can get by." And they were like, "No, you can't do that." And so then I went around the block and then drove the wrong way down the street because I knew there was a 7 or 8 car sort of like traffic stop positioned there, so there wasn't going to be anyone traveling my way anytime soon. And I think it took them like 4 or 5 hours, but just the idea that I was coming home at 8:30 at night and their expectation was that I would wait for them to finish their investigation, it seemed really impolite. And I've had a lot of really like polite conversations with police officers, but that one in particular left a sour taste in my mouth because when you're coming home after work and then you have someone say, "You can't go home," it's almost like when you set up tables for mutual aid and then you have someone stop by and say, "You can't set up tables for mutual aid." Yes, you can. Yes, you can. No one's gonna stop you. No one's gonna stop you. And then they did. So, yep. I guess this is just the state of the world now. Hopefully the second Saturday next month goes a little bit better, and I'm still looking forward to the woke extravaganza. Remember, you just got to start it off with a "What's up, Fortnite?" and hit them with a "and scene," and then you move on. There are other means of taking care of StickyBasket if they become a little too much, but remember, StickyBasket is dead. Long live StickyBasket. Thank you for letting me share, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Love you. Bye.